Bridget, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we get to interview you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. My name is Bridget Messi, and I am a young adult author of a fantasy book named Red Siren, and it's my debut book with Christian Faith Publishing.
Amazing. I would love if you could tell us more about what your book's about.
Yeah, so it follows it's a loose retelling of the Disney version of The Little Mermaid. So we follow Ariel as a mermaid, and she doesn't want to kill men. So it's a little bit darker than the Disney tale, obviously. And instead of wanting to have legs, what they do is when they come of age, they sing the song of the siren. And that's kind of when their personality changes. That's when they kind of become bloodthirsty monsters. And she doesn't want to do that. She likes who she is. She's fine with being kind to others and just eating fish. So she has to find a way to not not change into this evil persona, evil siren. So she goes to her grandmother for help and things don't go her way. She ends up being a human and meets some people in the human world and kind of discovers things throughout the story.
Love that. What
Mhm.
inspired you to write your book?
I was on Pinterest a few years ago and I came across this photo of Ariel and she had a knife in her hand and she was being circled by the eels from like the movie. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what if Ariel was like a badass? What if she was the villain? Like, what if these eels were her and she was sinister and dark, just like a siren typically is? And I immediately wanted to write that. So that actually ended up being the first chapter of the book. And from there, it is told in a flashback.
Love that. When writing your book, who are you thinking of when it comes to who your book is for?
Definitely young audiences from like 12 to 18. It's not an adult book, as in, I think the younger audiences would like it, but I think anybody could enjoy it. It's kind of like a Harry Potter situation.
Amazing. How long have you been writing and what made you really sit down and start?
I've been writing since I was in grade school. I remember having a notebook in class and just writing what came to me and giving it to my friends and them telling me what they thought and kind of just building off of it. So I've actually wanted to be an author since I was about fourth grade. And I think as I kind of grew up and got into reading and watching authors publish their work, I got really inspired to be like, hey, I want to do this. Like I'm doing this currently, but why not make it a career? It was something I went to school to be a teacher in college, and I realized all my time was being spent writing this book. And I was like, well, why don't I become an author? Like if that's my passion, why am I not doing it? If I'm spending all my time in school, I would be like in class and I'd be taking notes and I'd actually just be writing, like not paying any attention. So that's kind of what just the realization I love it. So
Love that. What is your schedule like when you are writing a book?
depends on my day job. I'm an esthetician as a day job, and if I have clients, I'm taking clients. If I don't, I'm writing. Right now, I'm focusing a lot on short stories. So if you go to my blog, there are some free short stories. I try to upload about two a month. Don't quote me on that. Some are longer than others. And any usually I write until about like 6 or 7, and then I kind of take the night off. Or some nights I get home from work around 8 o'clock and I write till midnight just to try to get something done.
Love that. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
That's a good question. I think things that inspire me. I have ADHD and I have to find ways to become inspired. So I will typically sit down with either a writing book or my favorite author. I have like all my books here in my office with me, and I'll open up a couple pages, read that, get inspired from it, or I'll listen to podcasts. I'll listen to authors getting interviewed and seeing their passion, and it just ignites a spark in me. So I think definitely before I write, I have to have that motivation um to sit down and do it.
Love that. What is your favorite writing snack or drink?
I would have to say a Coca-Cola. I am trying so hard not to drink soda anymore, but a Coca-Cola and like I used to do Coca-Cola and like salt and vinegar chips. That was that was my favorite. Sometimes it's like Cheez-Its, but pretty much a Coca-Cola, Cheez-Its, nothing, no sandwiches or anything. Maybe a smoothie, but yeah.
Love that. What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
Fantasy, or as the new term, romantasy. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard it a few times.
Yeah, I think it's like the new big thing. I don't know. It's fantasy with romance. I always have to have some kernel of romance in the books I read. Um, maybe not always, but it's preferred. But mainly fantasy and fiction.
Love that. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Yes, I think the two that come to mind are Allie Carter and Maggie Steve Vader. I don't know if I said that name correctly, but they were the two authors who got me into writing. And not into writing, into reading. So when I was a teenager in about sixth grade, I stumbled upon Allie Carter's I Tell You I Love You, but then I have to kill you. And it follows a girl named Cammy, the chameleon, they call her, and she's a spy and she goes to spy school. And I was kind of the same age as Cammy. I had similar features. I can hide in plain sight really well to the point my dad came up to my desk one day, put a book on my desk with me sitting right there, and had no idea I was sitting there. And I was like, Dad, I've had people like hide and seek as a kid look straight at me, inches away from me, and be like, "Where are you?" Like they couldn't find me, and I'm like, "You looked right at me." So those are the books I really connected with as a kid, and they really inspired me to become an author.
Love that. And you touched on this next question with your answer there, but what books did you grow up reading and did you have an all-time favorite?
Yeah, so the I Tell You I Love You, Then I Have to Kill You, and the Shiver series by Maggie Stiefvater. But I think the Penderwicks was kind of before I wanted to be an author, but it's one I really look back at fondly. Because that was kind of my very first like actual book besides like picture
The
books as
books
a
as a
kid.
kid.
Love that. On the opposite side of all of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that you automatically grab if they come out with something?
It I want to say Jennifer L. Armentrout because I loved everything she's written. And lately, I haven't, but I still will pick up anything by her because I just love her so much. Um, Rebecca Yarros is a new one that I just found out. She wrote Fourth Wing, which is having a moment right now. But I think those are the only two right now that I have to buy.
Love that. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
Read what you want to read. Like, buy a Kindle if I think a lot of it is, um, at least for me, is like people will judge you for reading, and that's why a lot of people don't. And now living in 2023, we have things like ebooks, and I'm like, you don't have to kind of share like, hey, I'm reading this book. You just have to pull out the Kindle, and they can't see the title, they can't see the cover. There were books as a kid, like, I wouldn't buy because I didn't wanna take it to class with me and be like, "This is what I'm reading." So I think kinda block out everybody else's thoughts. What do you like? Enjoy what you like because that's the point of reading. It's for you. It's not for anybody else. It's there to benefit you.
Love that. What would you tell someone who was just starting to write their own book?
Oh, read as much as you can. Find what find what kind of books you like, and expand on that. Maybe even like like my book, I write it thinking no one's gonna see it. Let yourself have fun with it. If you want, buy a writing book. My favorite is John Truby, The Anatomy of Writing. And just you're not gonna be great the first time you ever write, and that's okay. As long as you have fun, that's all that matters. Nobody has to ever see it.
Love that. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
That I'm an esthetician, and vice versa. Is when I'm an esthetician, they're like, "Oh, you're an author." So I think those two things is that I'm an author and I'm also an esthetician.
Love that. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
Just thank you so much for having me, and I hope that everyone enjoys Red Siren. And that's about it.
Love it. Where's the best place for readers to find your book? I know some readers love signed copies. Is that an option and the best place to connect with you?
Absolutely. So on my blog, Bridget Messi, well, my website, bridgetmessi.net, you can find signed copies of my book, Red Siren, that I personally have at my house and I sign. I can personalize it to you and I send it out. You can find me on Instagram at the real B. No, it's author B Messi, and then Threads, the same name, and then believe that's all. I'm on TikTok at just Bridget Messi, and yeah, those are the top three that I'm most on.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful we got to interview you. We'll be sure to drop those links in the show notes. That way everyone can find you. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and have a good night.